As we continue on with watching and reviewing Christmas horror movies, I find myself in a bit of a quandary. And it's not the first time I found myself here in this exact spot. As a film critic, I set my goals on honesty and objective breakdown of a piece of cinematic art without crossing the line into any toxic atmosphere towards the artists themselves. As a YouTuber, I feel obliged to make things somewhat fun and entertaining while also adhering to those first principles as a critic. Sometimes wearing those two hats simultaneously will cause them to butt heads though, as the YouTube platform will punish channels for frequent or even occasional use of words that they prefer not be said aloud. One of the big ones is the four-letter R word. Channels can have videos struck down with limited advertising or demonetized, and occasionally, entire channels themselves will become demonetized or pulled. Worse yet, in terms of operational transparency, there is strong evidence to suggest that YouTube could silently flag a channel as problematic and never inform the creator. They're just never shown on non-subscriber suggestions or feeds again, forever and irreversibly in a state of analytical limbo, never to grow at the rate of their peers. In my opinion, the reasoning for all of this is sound, as we sadly live in a world full of real threats and angry people more than willing to make those threats, or worse. And with a practical imbalance between the sheer volume of content and the number of human eyeballs able to moderate, automated systems are employed to monitor the platform in the attempt to keep everybody safe. This isn't me bemoaning or complaining, but more just observing. As someone that primarily focuses my attention and my content on horror movies, it becomes quite difficult to adequately discuss the contents of those films or my criticisms of them without also having frank discussions surrounding those contents and not dancing around vocabulary. I don't really have a solution to this aside from just calling it the R word, with the context hopefully filling in any blanks. I thought of using a replacement word, but honestly, I don't want to risk downplaying the frankly evil and harmful nature of the act by softening the dictionary around it. So, the R word it will be. This all seems like an odd preface for a Christmas horror movie, and in any other case, you might be right. But this isn't just a Christmas movie. This is a Bill Zebub film. Today, I'm reviewing the 2016 movie Santa Claus, A Horror Story. This movie starts out with a woman sleeping with a sheet draped over her until Santa stands at the foot of her bed, slides the sheet off of her, and seemingly puts her in a trance and follows his silent instructions until he proceeds to climb onto the bed and the R word follows. After this, we have characters engaged in philosophical and historical discussions and dissections of the origins of Christmas, of St. Nicholas, and of Abrahamic organized religions in general. Rinse and repeat. Scenes of one woman or another having the sheet slipped off of her, the R word from Santa or an elf or whomever, and then philosophical and historical discussions, usually with a bikini-clad woman sunbathing or doing yoga. Bill Zebub is a filmmaker known for his controversial and provocative films, including Demonic Possession, Kill the Scream Queen, Jesus the Total Douchebag, Boogers of the Antichrist, and so on. And as you may well discern from my tone, I'm not a big fan of his work, his style, and certainly of Santa Claus, A Horror Story, but it might not be for the reasons you'd think. Anyone that has watched more than a few of my videos knows that I'm not a prude, and I don't shy away from difficult or complex topics. I like blood, I like gore, I like titties, I like some swinging dong, and I like discussions of philosophy if a movie feels fit to include those elements. But more than anything, I like to be engaged by film, drawn into it, compelled by it, moved by it. As literature is the transferring of thoughts and ideas from one person to the next that transcends time and even language, art is the transferring of emotions and expressions from one person to the next. And for my money, films are at their peak when they are successful in making me feel anything. Showing naked women in shocking situations with no storyline context, I'm sorry, but that just doesn't cut it for me. There's no resonance there. It shrieks of a 7-year-old that learned a dirty word and is trying to get a rise out of any adult in the room by shouting it loud and proud. I don't want that. I want someone that will cut me to the core with a strong vocabulary. I want a filmmaker that will use every tool in their arsenal: soundtrack, color palette, angles, long shots, rapid shots, strong dialogue with stronger delivery from actors with range. Use those elements as an artist and destroy me. Wreck my soul and have me putter around the house for days in a stupor. I want that. I love that. Momentarily dismissing the fact that they are, by and large, terrible human beings, it's one of the reasons I sit down and press play on Lars von Trier or Gaspar Noé films. They are successful in not just bringing shocking or controversial subject matter to the screen, but doing so in a way that draws the viewer in, allows them to feel that connection with emotional resonance, and then uses that connection to wreck them. Taking a step back into lighter fare for the soul and heavier fare for the mind, there are plenty of filmmakers that also tackle deep issues of philosophy and history with varying degrees of success and failure, but for me, the greater the engagement, the greater the success. 𝗘𝗾𝘂𝗶𝗽𝗺𝗺 by Spider-1 partially delivers on this by having an engaging filmmaking style surrounding his performers as they each dissect various mediums of artistry. For pure philosophical onanism on a level that I found myself completely drawn into, the rotoscoped nightmarescape of Richard Linklater's Waking Life is a beautiful example of a film taking its concept and creating resonance with the artistry of the moving picture. Santa Claus: A Horror Story seems to lack any refinement or polish that would possibly deliver on that engagement. Lighting and color is flat and washed out, dialogue delivery is stilted, and the dialogue is primarily comprised of two character interactions where they each share the same knowledge base and are clearly having back and forth for the sake of the audience rather than themselves. There's even some cheap pot shots thrown in that make the film entirely too self-aware about those elements. And I'm sorry, but acknowledging sins is not the same as addressing them. And to address the natural counterpoint before it's raised, budget is no excuse. I've seen far too many filmmakers do so much with so little that I refuse to accept that as a reason to deliver bland pap. Bill Zebub seems to know who he is and what sort of movies he makes and remains unapologetic about it, which is fine. He's also amassed a cult following of folks that genuinely seems to enjoy his work, which is also fine. I only recently was talking about the merits of a filmmaker doing what they love and the simple nobility baked into that in my review of Amityville Christmas Vacation. Draw your line, set your goals, and meet them. Nothing wrong with that. But while that may make me appreciate you on some level as a filmmaker, it doesn't inherently sell me on your art. So I'm not going to be going after Zebub for the stuff that a lot of critics might. Having naked women, scenes of the R word, and dry two-person dialogue isn't going to get marks down from me. Making them boring will. There's no excuse for denying your audience any level of engagement and making every shocking scene fall flat. It's because of this, more than anything else, that I'm unable to recommend on any level Santa Claus: A Horror Story. So that's my review. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click like and subscribe. If you've seen this movie or if you've seen Bill Zebub movies, let me know what you think. Leave comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and